The three Nephite apostles were also promised that their resurrection would be instantaneous and painless, a promise also included in the voice command. The bodily change, known as the resurrection of the dead, in all cases will be accomplished instantaneously. The bodily transformations and translation and resurrection are even more dramatic and fundamental than the purging of Gentile blood. In fact, resurrected bodies have no blood, but are composed of flesh and bone. Joseph Smith openly taught this doctrine, first in Nauvoo and then in Ramus, Illinois. Resurrected bodies operate upon a different principle than mortal bodies. Mortal bodies are quickened by the blood, as the Lord pointed out to Moses. This was a repetition of the commandment given to Noah. But resurrected bodies operate upon a different principle entirely. They have no blood, but are quickened by the Spirit. The Apostle Paul taught this truth in his first epistle, where he says that Christ's resurrected body is quickened by the Spirit. Paul also referred to the natural body of flesh and the resurrected spiritual body. In the same epistle, the apostle also directly stated that flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of God. That is, the blood must be done away with. Joseph Smith taught this more plainly, or at least more understandably, to a modern audience. The light of Christ, the Spirit or consciousness, becomes the animating force of the resurrected body as it is for the spirit body. In the resurrection, there will be 3 gradations of bodies, each with a different degree of glory, a field effect of the light of Christ. All will receive the same natural body we have today, but will have our bodies quickened with different portions of glory. There will be those who will be quickened by the light of Christ, but will not receive a portion of glory. All gradations of flesh will be quickened by the light of Christ and will no longer have blood in their veins, but will receive different portions of glory according to their willingness to receive. Another way of looking at it is that there are 4 levels of coherence with 4 levels of field effects: mind, glory, and power. All these transformations and gradations are due to the Spirit, which refers to both the light of Christ and consciousness. God the Father lives in eternal fire, as Joseph Smith termed it. Mortal men cannot go to where God the Father dwells because all mortal flesh will be consumed. Yet, according to Joseph, after the resurrection, all men who qualify for the celestial kingdom will dwell in everlasting burnings. He likely learned this from Isaiah. Now, while natural flesh and blood are destroyed by fire, the flesh and bones of the resurrected beings who qualify for the celestial kingdom are not destroyed. Celestial bodies are impervious to fire or burning. In fact, if they are to be eternal, they must be impervious to all external conditions. This is likely due to the animating force of these bodies, the light of Christ or consciousness. As we formulated earlier, both are infinite and eternal. Neither was created and neither can be destroyed. Since they create and animate bodies that are eternal and indestructible, then both give endless life where there is no more death. We have already made this attribution to the light of Christ. We must now make it an attribute for both.